So here we go, time to decide the top 20. We have 59 entries to choose between. We have never had this many entries in round 2. So whichever way this goes, it's gonna be dramatic and a whole lot of amazing entries are gonna be moving on. So let's just get right into it, guys. Since there are so many entries, there's not going to be time to comment on all 59 auditions. So we're going to paste the scores right away into the main sheet, and so it's basically the voting parts.
Okay.
Once we discuss the different entries that we disagree about and such, then we can say our feedback. Real Kelsey.
I have reasons. I have explanations.
Okay, I
Are
can...
they...
okay. Okay.
Are they good explanations? Probably not, but they are explanations.
It's the wrong red and green, but whatever. Okay,
You know I'm colorblind.
I know you're colorblind. I'm gonna fix it for you. It hurts the eyes.
It's colorblind versus OCD, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I'm so called out. But we still need a best performance.
There we go.
Oh,
go!
very interesting. The combined highest score was not the best performance for any of us. Okay, guys, you gotta explain yourselves on Maeve, because for one thing, she didn't follow the theme, so how can she win best performance in an 2010s and 70s round?
Doesn't follow the theme.
Her song was from 1980.
Oh, was it?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Rick James is 1980. Jeez. I suppose I wasn't born then.
I mean, she wrote that the song was written in the 1799, but the theme description said it has to be released in the 1980s. So it doesn't really make sense for her to get best performance. I know it's a technicality, but I mean, you have to follow the theme. Otherwise, what's the point with the themes?
Yeah, it was just I really enjoyed it because you could tell she was genuinely having fun with it. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
The mix was good, the vocals were good, the backgrounds were good. Like, the only negative thing I had about it was that you could hear her mic peaking a little bit, but like that was me like really nitpicking. I still took points off for it not being in the theme technically, but I still thought, like, in terms of the actual performance, I think hers was the best one.
Yeah, well, I deducted 1 point for the theme not being followed, but I think she had incredible energy in this, but there was noticeable autotune in this still, but she knows how to mix, and that's always a positive. She has power behind her voice, but I want some finesse too, and she didn't really have that in this performance, so I gave this a 7.
Yeah, I mean, it's an 8 from me, and I haven't given an 8 all competition yet, and we did manage to get 2 in the end, but yeah, my highest score out of everything we've done so far. For me, it's the confidence and the swagger. It's not... You get plenty of people who are great singers that come through this that just don't really have that kind of X factor about them. I know I'm borrowing the lame reality TV show from the UK talking about X Factor, but it has a lot to do with it in that you've got some ability. You've also got the ability to like own a stage if you're performing live or something like that. And that to me is a big thing. It's like the extra. And then you've also got people who again have got great voices, but they just don't get that right. They go way over the top. And I think we'll talk about a few of those later on as well. This is the right balance to me. It's someone that clearly is an artist and is very sellable. Like, this display is something that you could quite happily like package up and sell. There are a few technicals which I noted down, which is why we're not talking 10 all day. Yeah, I guess the production may cover up a few sins here and there, which is, I guess, standard, and that's part of the point, but I think I can forgive a few issues there for just a very well-rounded and entertaining performance.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you that she is a very clear artist and everything. But I saw one interesting thing, Kelsey. You have a 9.5, so why is that not your best performance? And I'm talking about Eden here.
Mostly because I gave Maeve a 9 on like a technicality, mostly. Eden, I really liked the performance a lot. It was like one of my favorites, but Maeve's like energy and like the whole kind of mix and performance as a whole, I did like better. But I don't know, I like them both a lot.
Yeah, for me personally, I always try to make sure that my scores reflect my actual opinion about where they're placed and everything.
I think it's a tough one. It's something that I wrestle with, especially getting into later rounds of these things, is just because something is technically the best, it doesn't necessarily mean it's the most entertaining out of the bunch. And I think there was one season where I said, even though I've put someone bottom out the top 3, theirs is the album I would most want to run out and buy the second it came out. And it's how that factors in the decision making. And I think I will tend to lean towards one that entertains me and is technically very good rather than something that's technically perfect but lacks a little bit of the performance. That's just personal. I guess that's why we have 3 judges.
Yeah, okay. Since we already had a majority for best performance, I actually have to check the rules first to make sure it's actually not forbidden in the rules that an entry that doesn't follow the theme can win best performance, because I have already written to the contestants that you can't win best performance if you don't follow the theme, but I'm not sure it was in the rules. Have to follow the rules, guys. But I'm still gonna argue my best performance in a bit. I just have to see if it's technically allowed here, because it's the first time it has happened. So okay, rule number 17. Not fitting the theme is not grounds to reject an entry, however you are gonna be judged on how well you fit the theme.
I don't mind changing then, but I do still really like her performance a lot.
I guess it's not in clear written text that you can't win best performance if you don't follow the theme.
I mean, you guys are going to have to outvote me on that one, because I can't let something that lacks that much dynamic get best performance, but if it's 2-1, then so be it.
Well, I'm just gonna argue my best performance here first. So, my best performance was Mocha. I thought she had incredible energy, incredible power, and she sustained those belts, and I love the range. She started in an opera voice, and then she was J-Rock, and that was super cool. It sounds professional to me. She is missing that soft dynamic though, and that's a song choice issue. I wanted to give this a 10, but due to that, I had to give this a 9.5. And I'm not even a J-Rock fan, so it's not even a bias thing, and that's really saying something.
I think the issue of it going Japanese is where it's giving me the issue. It gives me the issue for most of the times this come up. With first round performance for Mocha, my notes said very one-dimensional. And then because it's gone Japanese, that automatically pigeonholes her into being quite one-dimensional. The sustains in it are out of this world good. And from what I can tell, I didn't get to listen to the original more than once, but it sounds pretty on pitch to me as well, which is a big plus. But I think if your song choice is taking away dynamic, generally they're quite one-paced and they're pretty smash you in the face as well. As you say, the soft dynamic is missing from it, which for me personally, that's a big thing. That's something that I look for. So that's the reason that my score is where it's at, which is 6.5.
I liked it. I think the lyrics are like a little bit different from the original, because I'm pretty sure the original starts in Latin, and I think she did it in English, which is fine, and I'm not that like complaining about it or anything. But if you're gonna like go ahead and go all out and do a foreign language, I just don't know why you wouldn't do the whole thing in the foreign language if that's what's in the original. But that's not why I gave a lower score. I wasn't a huge fan of the way that she did the opening, because I felt like it could have a lot more like support behind it. It felt very breathy to me. But whenever the actual like rock part came in, that was the part that I really liked, and I thought it was like really well executed. You guys both said the sustains. They were fantastic. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
But that's where I am.
Okay, wait, so what was your main reason for dropping points?
Mostly the intro, but other than that, I thought it was good.
Okay, I guess. So Kelsey, would you consider changing to Eden then for best performance?
I would, but if Mark's already not gonna change, then I don't want there to be like an even more of a split decision.
Okay, but then I gotta ask, how many points did you drop for not following the theme, Mark?
Can't say I noticed it wasn't on the theme. Felt very 70s to me.
Okay, but it wasn't on the theme, and you are judged on how well you fit the theme, so that's my main sticking point here, because there should at least be a point dropped for that.
Okay, well, if I do that, that still puts me on 7, which is tied with Eden, and half point ahead of Mocha, and my vote would still be the same.
This is so tedious.
There we go, and then that's going to stay gold. Oh, but then I've got an 8. Oh, wow.
See, this was my problem. See?
And how many points did you drop, Kelsey?
I dropped a whole point. I probably would have given a 10 if it were on theme.
Okay, but did she show belting with sustain though? That's a real hallmark of a 10 to me.
Well, they're different styles, and I think stylistically she executed really well the point that she was trying to get across.
Yeah, and how many points did you drop for the autotune? Because it was heavily produced, and this is a singing competition.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just trying to understand the points here. Okay, but the best performance is not the main focus of this deliberation, because we really gotta move on at some point. Okay, so Maeve wins best performance even though she didn't follow the theme. That's interesting, but okay, I can't do anything against the majority, so. And I guess the rules don't technically say that you can't win best performance if you don't follow the theme, even though you are judged on how well you fit the theme, so it doesn't really make sense, but whatever, okay.
Well, as soon as I saw Rick James, I'm thinking 70.
So
that's
moving
my.
on. What?
As soon as I saw Rick James, I'm thinking, oh, it's 70. Like, that's just kind of where my head went.
You gotta read the fine print, people. Moving on then, but this is really interesting. It's actually the first time that the top score didn't get the top performance. So I think we should talk about Eden too, because he was actually the top scorer. So for me, he has an amazing clean rock voice, powerful high notes. He actually reminds me of Sion, the winner of season 3.
I wanna be the strongest hero!
He has grit in his voice. I really want to be moved though to really be able to give a 10, and I think he is capable of giving a 10. It's vocally very similar to his first entry though, so I'm wondering still if he has some versatility.
I really liked this entry. It was really good. It was one of the first ones that I listened to and I was like, wow, really nice job. It was super clean. But I agree with you. There was emotion, but not nearly as much as what some other people did. The only thing technically was I think at some points the vocals were a little low in the mix and it kind of got covered up by the guitar, but that's really me nitpicking really hard, but I liked it a lot. I thought it was great.
By the way, I love that you guys don't interrupt me. That's really nice for a change, actually. That always happens in deliberations.
Well, you know what I'm like, I hardly say anything. I get about 4 words in here and there, and then I let you guys go at it.
Yeah, true.
For Eden, I had a feeling I scored him really low first time out, but I checked, and I've bumped him by half point. So my main issue with him that he sorted out really well is that the end of his phrases didn't really go anywhere. They just kind of cut off in nothing, which he's tidied up a lot this time around. My theory on what you mentioned, Kelsey, one of us is going to be right, I'm sure anyway, I think he might be using too much compression on the vocal, or just on the track in general.
That's what I thought too.
So yeah, and with that, if you use compression, it sorts out some issues in volume, but if you go too heavy on it, then it ends up kind of squashing everything together too much, sucks your dynamic out. So while he has improved the end of phrases compared to round 1, he's lost a lot of dynamic for me in round 2, which probably isn't him because he's still got it in there, but I think he's just tweaked something on his settings which has thrown it off. Kind of difficult to knock someone down for that, but then if I can't hear dynamic, I can't give points for it. So yeah, I think he's improved in some ways, he's fallen off in others. Strong enough, but I love dynamic. It's a big thing for me. It's right up there with timing, and if it's not in there, it wouldn't be a top performance for me, but definitely very strong.
Yeah, I can definitely see your point. I always go for the dynamic entries first and foremost, but at the same time, if they really blow me away with power, then I can overlook that part actually. So let's move on to the actual top 20 discussion. I think it's time. Wow, okay. We only have 3 yeses, so the rest we're gonna have to decide from the 2 and 1 vote pile. I really gotta know about Benjamin here because I'm really surprised here because you really didn't like him last round. So what turned you over, Mark? That's really interesting.
Just to clarify, you are pulling me up on liking someone.
Yeah.
Right, okay, fine.
For a change.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big turnaround. I see exactly what you've done. Right, okay. I completely agree. I think I gave him a 3 in round 1, and then judging by my notes. Right, okay. So, my issue, I know what you like with rock voices, and I had a feeling that you were going to fight hard for him. He was right on the borderline anyway. My issue with a lot of the guys that have rock voices is that they lean too much into the power, and then all of the technicals end up being thrown out, and that was my big concern with him, in that could he deliver deliver a solid enough technical performance for me to go for it. I've got a bit of a concern about whether it was a top 20 worthy performance, in that maybe it was lacking some of the energy of some of the others, just in a kind of vibe thing more than anything else. But I really like the way he went with it. The lazy feel to his voice worked really well. He's not trying to absolutely blast us like he did in round one. It seemed like a much more measured performance, a technically better performance, a more dynamic performance in terms of how he used it. I'm not going to fight too hard, because I've got at the end of my notes, I'm not 100% if it was a top 20 performance, but more in terms of he maybe went a little too far down the lazy, chilled out kind of vibe when he could have pushed a bit more, added a little more spark to it, and kind of gone in the middle between his two entries.
Yeah, okay, well, for me, it was very nasal. He has a cool tone, and I think it was top-notch mixing, but that was actually because of Nick who mixed this. So I think that was what made this better than the last one, because it was clearly a professional mix and everything, but that was not his doing, so. But I think there are plenty of issues in this still. I think the enunciation was questionable. On those fast lower notes, you are going quite quick, Benjamin, so you didn't get the words out clearly, but you have a forward sounding and piercing voice and a lot of projection in this, so it was still a pretty high score, and a half a point would maybe have pushed you into the top 20. And how about Kelsey? Ooh, said 7.5 is still a no to you. You are very generous with your high scores, I see.
I know. I'm kind of in like an in-between of both of you. I liked the performance. I think he has a really cool tone, like you said, but I couldn't tell how much of it was me really enjoying the vocal performance or me enjoying how well everything was put together. But like you said, that was Nick. I also agree with like the enunciation. The diction wasn't there for me. There was a lot of D and T sounds that were just completely skipped, so it sounded very mushy, and it leaned a little to the flat side, but I don't think it was bad by any means. I just don't know if it was like top 20.
Yeah, I did like this actually, but I liked most of the entries, so I had to call the ones that I actually did like. So I actually liked it, but there are only 20 spots.
Yeah, same here.
Mark has already said that he doesn't wanna fight for him, so let's just drop him and move on. Sorry, Benjamin. How many do we have in the 3 and 2 yes list combined here?
21, isn't it? Got 10 yeses and 11 twos. Are there any other contentious ones where I've got a yes and you guys have a no?
I know who I want to talk about, but I can say it
Go for it then.
for later. Okay. So what didn't you like about Glitch Chord? For me, his voice really stands out. He doesn't sound like anyone else in this competition. It was kind of this bohemian, chill, hipster voice, and I love this 100 times more than his last entry. The harmonies are properly panned left and right, and there is dynamics in this, but I do wonder if he has versatility, and that's why I couldn't give him one of the top scores, but it was still a passing score for me with an 8.
I did give him a little bump from his first round performance, which is a good thing. I think there was a lot of technical issues that needed polish from round 1, and he's definitely attempted to do that. I think the problem here for me comes down to song choice. It is not a very dynamic track to begin with, so that vibe that you like, with it being kind of chill more than anything else, yeah, I mean, makes sense, I'd take the point. But if you pick something that is very low energy, your performance is going to come across as low energy unless you try and give it a different spin and add that yourself, which is, it can go one of two ways. If something's supposed to be soft and you smash through it, that can be quite a negative thing, or it could be a completely fresh take on something, which is fantastic. This stays quite true to the original, and the original, fine. You know, it does the job, it's got a great vibe to it. There are plenty of times when it's going to be the perfect thing you want to just put on and chill out and have a coffee or something. As a audition song, not so much. Like, there are so many other things that he could have given us to show the dynamic, the range, the power, the vibrato, the kind of stuff that we always talk about and we like. This didn't deliver for me, and because a lot of that stuff was lacking purely by song choice, I couldn't really give much of a score.
But it still had more dynamics than a lot of contestants in this competition.
Okay.
Okay, Kelsey obviously wants to speak here.
Okay, yeah, I have a lot of mixed feelings about this one. I do love this song. I listen to this song like almost every day on my senior year of high school. So I was really happy when I saw the song, and then I realized that it wasn't the best song choice, like Mark said. My biggest complaint is mostly vowels. It's like singing in cursive almost. It's very hard to understand a lot of the words at times. There were a lot of pitch issues and rhythm issues also. Rhythm was really rough in the beginning. I do think that they have a really interesting timbre, and I like that they're producing everything by themselves, but I don't know if that's enough to like push it over the edge personally.
Yeah, I mean, my problem with him last round, because I actually didn't vote him in last round, was that it sounded, I mean, he did that Frank Sinatra song that everyone does here, and and he had very weird pronunciations, and he didn't hit the notes at all, so it was completely the wrong song choice. But that's why this really worked, because this is a song that kind of tone works in, and I give points for fitting a song to your voice. That's a big thing for me. And another big thing for me is standing out, and like I said, he doesn't sound like anyone else in this competition, so can we really afford to lose such a unique voice?
Is it unique enough? I mean, it could be. Have we had enough? Have we had enough demonstration of that?
And my thing is it fitting their voice to the song, or is it because the song isn't like varying in pitch and that's why it works? Because if it's because there's not a lot of like pitch variation and it's easier to like stay on pitch, then I don't know if that's like, I'm not 100% sold.
So
The
you
song
think
doesn't
there
have much
wasn't
variation.
Yeah.
So you think there wasn't enough range in this? Is that what you're saying?
If there's not a lot of opportunity to mess up, then you're always going to do well, I think, is kind of what I'm thinking.
Okay, you actually have a point there. Other contestants really pushed with the power and everything. To me, there was dynamics in this, but there was certainly no belting or anything, so in the long run, I could see letting him go, so... Okay, that hurts. But anyway, someone else's turn. Who do you want to fight for?
I mean, I feel like I've got a bunch of these where I'm putting someone in that you guys are against. Let me see if there's one that I'm really set on.
By the way, I find it funny that you and I, Mark, switched on Glitch Chord and Benjamin. I wasn't a fan of Glitch Chord last round and you were, and I was a fan of Benjamin last round and you weren't. So you see, things can really flip-flop in this competition. Anything can happen. That's really funny.
I think because he did Frank Sinatra, he had to put the dynamic in, because like that's exactly what crooning is. Like it's one guy with a big jazz band behind him, and he's got to have the swagger behind it. So he put himself in the position where he could really show out. This time he's gone the complete opposite. I think Benjamin was kind of the same. A lot of technical issues to begin with by going too hard on it. The other time around he throttles it back and gives us something different. So yeah, it just shows that we are interested in different things, like different things. Okay, I think my next one that I want to go for would be Isabel, because she's 7 is up there as one of my strongest. I think for you guys, a couple of decent scores, but maybe not enough to go for a green. I was a huge fan of her first round performance, and this is much more measured compared to what we got last time, and I think some of the big sustained notes that were incredible in week 1 is gone, which is a shame. It was a bit of a backward step, but I'm seeing a lot that would be really useful. Like, you come to a singing competition like this or any, and you see someone take on Idina Menzel or something like that, and you're thinking, this is not going to work, this is going to go horribly. With Isabel, I think she could nail something like that. It's a little disappointing that she took a little bit of a step back this time around compared to round 1, but I think I'm in the same boat. Like, if she gives us round 1 again, then she would be a big loss.
Okay, but like last year's round 2, I said that we don't want to see someone go backwards in this competition. We want to see improvement. So how can she go on to the next round if it was a step back from last round?
It's a different take. So it's a more measured performance. So it's tightening up a little more on the technical side. I guess it took her away from her strengths a little bit, which was those big sustained notes. If a few of those were in there, that would have been great. But I think in terms of the approach, it was a different approach, and it helped in some ways. It was more a backward step because I was blown away and I pretty much fell in love with her voice in round 1. And in round 2 I was like, okay, I'm not quite as in love as I was, but I still like this a lot.
Yeah, okay. So my actual feedback for Isabel was that it was a smooth voice. There are small pitch issues though, but it was still enjoyable to me. You need reverb on this mix to really polish it more, and there was not much dynamics. It was mostly one dynamic, which is the mezzo forte dynamics. So that was my main reason for giving it 6.5.
Kind of same. I thought it was a little on the flat side here and there, and I heard some peaking through the mic.
Yeah.
I didn't like it, the audio quality necessarily, and I don't think the actual performance like overcame that enough for me. She has a really pretty voice, and I don't disagree. I just don't know if it's like my favorite.
I actually completely agree with you. The audio quality has always been kind of iffy for me when it comes to Isabel, unfortunately. And that's the thing with singing or voice acting. Invest in a good mic. It's gonna help you in the long run, because that's a really stupid reason to be eliminated here or anywhere else if you audition for different projects in the future. So, but it does matter, because a good mic will let your warmness of your voice come out, I guess, or warmth, and it doesn't really get captured with a bad mic. That's really important, people.
I do have a habit of falling in love with a particular voice in every season, and then I do throw a little too much weight behind that.
She's the new Natasha.
She is the new Natasha since she didn't show up. See, that's kind of a good thing in a way, because it would have just been the same deal all over again. I need to find someone new.
Yeah. So for me, I think what's probably gonna be quickest here is to discuss the 2 yes column. I mean, who are we gonna cut from that? Unless we're gonna replace someone from the 1 yes pile. But first, Kelsey, did you have anyone that you wanted to fight about? Because we didn't get to you.
It depends on who you're trying to cut from the 2 yes list. So, yeah. So, who are we thinking of cutting from the 2 yes list?
Let me just check my scores here again.
Sharpening the knives.
Because I have several no's in that 2 yes list. So for me, the obvious one would be Carly. Let me find her.
See, okay.
No, I gotta make my point first.
I know, yeah, I'm listening. I'm patient.
Yeah, okay, so for me, Carly, there was a lot of effort in this actually. You have dynamics, you have properly sustained notes and pretty high notes, but there was no edge in this, so it was not belting, it was quite heady actually. You have a wide range from those super low notes to those high notes, but I wish the volume was higher on the lower notes so that you can really bring those out more. And I wish the higher notes were more powerful and the transitions up were a little bit out of control and pitchy, but I did enjoy this still. But I enjoyed it less than any of the others in the 2 yes list, so that's why I would be going for her to be removed.
Okay, I get what you're saying. However, if we're talking about having different types of voices in the top 20, I think hers is very sweet and very delicate, and I don't think, at least for this one, there's a lot of voices that are like delicate. There's a lot of like belting and like powerful voices, and I really liked this performance, and I think giving her the opportunity to have more like versatility and show that off, I think that would be really good for her, because I think she can do it. But
yeah.
I really like this entry anyway.
I get your point that her voice is different from the other top 20s, but at the same time, my top 20 are who I think can actually win this competition in the long run as well. And I think it should be that way, because top 20 out of 59 is a really big cut, so we really need to think in the long run as well. She does lack power on those high notes, and that tends to be a problem in the long run.
Have you got a suggestion for a replacement?
No, because there are 21 in the 3 and 2 yes list combined, so we have to remove one, not replace one.
Right, okay. Well, in that case then, I would struggle to drop her in terms of, or compared to some other names in that list. I completely take the point, and considering it's normally me trying to boot out the J-pop singers around about the top 10 stage on the reason of versatility, I think maybe I should take my own advice from every other season and do that. But it's tough. I think, yeah, low notes are an issue, and I'm not sure she actually has it. But compared to Mocha, who went for the, again, Japanese kind of route, that was a beautiful entry. Like, some of those high sustained notes are beyond incredible. And the thing that a lot of contestants that try and go for the Japanese stuff in, they struggle with the timing. This is bang on with it. Like, she's comfortable in this genre and being able to move around and kind of tweak it to make it work and change the phrasing a little bit, which is, again, a big thing. She is pigeonholed into a certain style, which might be an issue in terms of versatility, but I'm seeing enough that she's going to sound J-poppy, but she might be able to find enough stuff to kind of make it work and stand alone as a unique thing rather than just being, oh, it's J-pop, but you're singing country or whatever. I could be wrong.
Do you think she could sing country though? The thing with J-pop voices is that they often lack versatility, and I could see that as a potential problem here, alongside the other problems that I've already mentioned.
Depends what country song it is, because it's such a...
yeah, it's a wide genre.
Yeah,
but also
exactly.
there's also blues in that category though, and I think
Oh yeah, that's true.
her voice would lend really well to like a blues song, personally. But
Interesting.
Well, considering, yeah, like Telecaster bridge pickup on the guitar front, for anyone that knows, is very prominent in blues and like a thin, glassy, high-pitched kind of thing, lots of sustain. Yeah, I'm set. I'm sticking.
Okay, who would you guys argue to drop from the 2 yes list? And if we can't decide collectively, then we have to go by the scores, because that's the only solution then.
I have two, I think. Either Lavender Cry or Aaron for me.
What didn't
I
you?
knew.
What didn't you like about Lavender Cry?
So the low range was really nice. It was really pretty. There were a couple pitch issues here and there, but the harmonies were really nice. I just feel like there's a lot of like over-reliance on the throat, so that there's not a lot of support in the sound, I guess is what I'm saying. So it feels kind of hollow, but also kind of more of a yell than a belt for me. But that's also just kind of my opinion.
Yeah, I can understand that, because that was a big problem in her first audition. But I maybe didn't notice it as much this round due to the better mixing and everything. So, but I'm gonna go into my feedback here. So Lavender Cry, you forgot to put your audio over the video, so be careful with that, because the audio quality really matters. There could easily have been a mistake there, so. But I love the Spanish, and you have such a warm voice. I love the range from those low notes to those high notes, and you have emotion in this as well. The background and main vocals were not synced in the very beginning. You have nice belting in this. Like Kelsey said, I'm not sure it's real belting though, but you have improved since last round definitely. And you have a nice clear high range.
I think I like the range most of all, and this is potentially why I might dig my heels in a little bit. I mean, the pitch does go wayward in the harmonies at the end, but generally it's pretty good stuff. And I think the thing that I'm holding on to is that there's a good mix of bottom and top end, which is going to deal with some of these issues we're having with some of the singers that have put themselves in certain boxes and we worry about whether they can get out of it. So there's versatility there. I would like some more dynamic and a bit more push here and there. And yeah, I think the pitch needs to be dialed out in a few places. I would be inclined to dig my heels in a bit in terms of versatility, which is why I think she got the bump on one or two others, but she will have been like my 19th, 20th spot. So yeah, I'm kind of on the fence, but leaning towards a yes.
Yeah, I'm not ready to let go of Lavender Cry, personally.
Okay, fair. That's fine.
What didn't you like about Erin then?
It was mostly pitch issues for me on this one. It wasn't super noticeable until it got to that like penultimate note, and then it was sharp, and that really turned me away from it. I think her vibrato is pretty. I think she has a lot of like flexibility in her voice. Like the runs were really nice, but I think those like transitions out of her passaggio were kind of clunky, I guess is a word for it. But other than that, I think it was fine. It just, out of the people on the list, I think hers was towards the bottom for me.
Oh, I really don't agree with that. I mean, for me, Erin, you have a fantastic voice actually. You have a big sustain, a big vibrato, and dynamics in this. But you picked a musical again, so you don't have versatility at the moment, and that's really important in this competition. The audio and mixing could have been better though, so you should contact the mentors about that.
I could stay home every night.
But I still really like this and I gave this a 7.5. It was interesting that you talked about sharp notes because I didn't write down any pitch issues. So I would need to listen to that again because pitchiness was a big sticking point throughout this judging. So if she were pitchy, then I could potentially be willing to concede here. Or was it just the ending?
It was mostly that sustained note was the one that I picked up on the most. I've
Not
been known
the
to be
whole
wrong
one.
many times.
So what we're looking for, the pitch at the ending.
Wait, hang on. Windows Media Player doesn't respond. I can't hear you and this at the same time, so I have to pause this first. Computer. Okay, now it's paused. So what did you want to say, Mark?
I was like, what are we checking? The last note at the end. The whole run's flat. I did not even notice the whole run's flat.
Oh.
That's
wow.
what I'm
Where is that in
That,
the
like-
recording so that we don't have to listen to the whole thing again?
Go to like a minute.
Oh, okay. I still really like it overall, so if it is that nitpicky, then I don't think I'm gonna be swayed on that as well.
And there was me wishing I noticed that. Must be slipping. So I have my own issues with it, and it comes to do with mixing again. I had to turn this up loud in order to get the full effect on it because it was very compression heavy. I think we are pretty much comparing notes, Petri. I've got beautiful sustain and vibrato. Dynamic, I think, is missing a little bit, mainly due to the compression. I have a little bit of an issue when I have to doctor something to make it sound good. I know I'm just turning the volume up, but I have to do that to get the effect on it, and that's probably why I missed the flat note, to be honest, because I'm not getting the kind of experience that I would normally expect. But yeah, it's a tough one. Like, I can find a way around it. I can't really dig someone too much on the volume being too low, but I think I could potentially be swayed onto making a swap there. I have got another that I would maybe push more that Kelsey's going to hunt me down for, I think, but but yeah, I'm not ruling out maybe suggesting that as a potential to drop.
Who are you gunning for?
I want to whisper it because you're going to hate me, Robert.
See, I'm not one to throw hands, but at this point, we might have to. I don't know. There are a lot that I would probably like be swayed to drop, but I thought that performance was really cool and like it was interesting. There were a lot of different textures in the mix, a lot of different textures in the sound. I thought the vocal performance was good. I thought the emotion was good, the acting. I was a really big fan of this one.
Hang on,
Actually.
which one are you talking about?
Robert.
Yeah, okay, I didn't catch that.
I whispered it because I didn't want to get something thrown at me.
Yeah, and I didn't hear the name, damn it. Yeah, I did have some mixed feelings about Robert here. He has a super cool tone, so he really stands out to me. He has fantastic power, but there is some just straight up screaming as well, and I had quite mixed feelings about that. There was excessive growling in this, and growling can't replace power, but he showed power too, so he's a belter clearly. But overall it was quite over the top to me. You really gotta be careful to not hurt your voice, cause it really sounds like you could injure your voice singing that way, or I guess screaming that way. There was a lot of sustain in this, but no soft dynamics, so this was one of the ones that was hard for me to decide on, so I wouldn't be impossible to sway here.
Yeah, I did have that in my notes. The rasp was really cool and had a cool effect, but that is like the easiest way that you can get nodes. And
That's true.
they hurt. So vocal health important, but the effect was cool, so I don't want to like knock it too much, but that is like it's bad, but like it sounded good.
Kelsey,
I know.
you just gave me the argument I needed to drop him.
I know.
And
I know.
you gave him a 9, so you kind of shot yourself in the foot here. Because I mean,
tend to do that.
vocal health should be the number one priority.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, Robert. I'm gonna go with that.
That's absolutely fair.
I have been swayed. I'm gonna put him red. I love a belter, but I don't love a screamer. So that's my issue. Sorry, Robert. I know he really wanted to get into the top 20 and everything, but we have to vote on the actual performance. So okay, so I guess Mark is happy now.
Well, this is another one of those like consistent things that I've judged on throughout the seasons, or at least I hope I have. He says completely going against what he normally does. But I've always, I think, had issues with people that over-sing. For Robert, I get the feeling that he does over-sing everything. I'm not much of a singer, so I don't know that much about what is damaging, what isn't, but completely take the point on that. I mean, there's power and there's range, but I virtually always would rather have a measured performance that's more nailed on technically. That doesn't mean dialing it all the way back and making it sterile and boring. You can still add a whole load of spice to it, and there are so many techniques available to do that. But going for something that is theatrical and then just smashing your way through it, it doesn't sit that well with me. It kind of feels like covering up, but chances are he's got a whole lot of extra tools in his voice that he could use, and it's a sign of someone that doesn't really know how to use those tools, limiting in terms of versatility. And I think that would be, like, you've got power and you've got range and you've got energy, you know you have that. Start to look at what else you might have in your voice, the softness and the vibrato and the little nuances like that you can bring in and make yourself a much more complete artist. Some of that stuff might already be there, some of it might just need a little bit of work on technique, but I think that would be a worthwhile route to go down, and if he'd done that, we might have had a completely different performance this time out.
Yeah, I think that's part of the reason why I gave as high of a score as I did. You can tell that there hasn't been a lot of like training or anything, because it's hard to know like what's damaging, what is bad, and you kind of stick towards what you find sounds good for the first time and like first tries, and that's why I didn't want to knock him too bad for it. But I do agree with everything that you guys are saying. The gloves are off. They're on the ground. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, if we did put him through, that would kind of set a bad example to the others. Like, here is
For
how
sure.
you should sing. Yeah, I mean, the top 20 should be a good example of how you should sing. So I'm totally fine with that. Now we have 20 rights.
We do have 20.
Yeah, I'm kind of sad that we're losing Hailey here. I mean, I get that she was kind of flat at points, but for me she has a strong voice. It's kind of reminiscent of Avril Lavigne to me. It was a little flat, like I said though, but it was still very enjoyable. She has great projection in her voice. I do want the soft dynamic too though, but I still put her through. So what didn't you like about it?
Mostly the pitch issues. I agree with what you said. I said she kind of sounds like Hayley Williams a little bit, but it was flat. The cutoff at the end was super abrupt. I think she has the same issue that a lot of people have been having, where the mix is just really squashed, so her vocals get like kind of buried in there. The volume was super inconsistent. That's my thing. I didn't think it was like bad or the worst or anything. I think her voice is really cool and really interesting. It's just compared to the people that we have on the list, I think we should keep the list that we have.
I've got a lot of they are negative, but they're not like, it's not really terrible. Like, the first note falls really flat, lacking energy, almost mumbly, far from pitch perfect, and I've got a timing issue or two in it as well. The big thing that I loved from Hayley in her round one entry was those long sustained notes that she had, which pretty much made it a yes straight off the bat, and those are missing here. If they were in there, it probably would have given us some of that energy, and then I'm talking about adding another point and a half to her, and then she's in there contending and pushing with the top 20. So I think it just fell quite a way short. That a few of those technicals being fixed and a bit more energy might have propelled her into this level, but I mean, she's been sort of consistently like in the 4 to 5 range over the two entries, so yeah, it's about a point and a half short away from my top 20.
Yeah, but she's a belter though, and I mean, there were people that only belted for like a half a second, like Sean. She at least sustained a little bit, so I still think she is worthy of a top 20 position due to the belting.
Just
I would agree if it wasn't flat. If it was on pitch, I would totally agree with you.
Okay, yeah, you actually do have a point, because I did consider voting her out, but it felt so harsh due to, I mean, I always love belters in this competition, so that was my main sticking point.
like, that first note is really flat as well, like it's not even. Okay,
let me hear it again, just so that I can get on your side here a little bit more.
just listen up to Shadow, and that tells you everything you need to know.
Okay. So don't speak now, because I can't hear two things at the same time. No. Alright, I'm gonna let her go then. Okay, I think think we're pretty much done, unless you have anything else to add. I mean, it's only been 1.5 an hour as opposed to 2 hours. I kind of counted on 2 hours. Yeah, and like I said, we can't comment on everyone, even though I do have notes on everyone, and I'm gonna post my notes at least in the docs and also in the video description.
Yeah, I need to do that too. I'm guessing I can post notes for the casting rounds because all those episodes are out now, aren't they? But not for round 2 yet. Would that be right?
Yeah, you can absolutely do that.
We've seen it now. We've seen the exact amount of time that is lost between Andrew and Petri kicking off at each other and talking over each other. Well, I'm just sitting here like, yeah, they're going to be over in a minute.
That's painfully true.
I feel like I should say something positive. I felt like I just said a bunch of negative things and I feel bad. Is this how you guys feel every time? Because this kind of sucks.
Well, sometimes you don't have time to give both the negative and the positives. I mean, sometimes you have to get straight to the point because we are cutting people at the end of the day.
For sure. I do think everyone did a really great job for the most part, though.
Yeah, I actually agree with that. I mean, most of my scores were pretty high. I mean, if you think about last round where I gave 1s and 2s and stuff, so yeah. And I don't think anyone in this round is not a singer. I could hear all of them improve and like be amazing singers in the future and everything. So just keep working at it, regardless if you make it into the top 20 or not. Don't be discouraged because we have 59 entries and only 20 can go on. So obviously there's gonna be much more deserving people that just can't go through due to just being too few spots. And those that do go through, you should be really proud of yourselves, and I hope you really take the chance because we are taking a chance on you, so don't disappoint us. Okay, that's it. Oh, we forgot to introduce our guest judge. How sloppy. They need to know who you are, so Kelsey, who are you?
Hi.
In the end, but anyway.
It's fine. My name is Kelsey. I am a digital music teacher, and I just got my double bachelor's in music technology and vocal performance. So I'm happy to be here, happy to help, and I was really happy to listen to everybody. I think everybody did a nice job. You all sound great.
Yeah, and by the way, you were top 3 in 2019 and top 4 in 2020, so you do have a lot of experience in this competition itself. And I was your biggest fan, don't forget that.
I won't forget. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, thank you guys. Bye.
Yeah, bye.
Thanks for watching. Don't miss the upcoming result. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe.